Good morning, Joe, and welcome back to the Local Paleo Show.
Good morning. Great to be back.
Thank you for coming back and accepting our invitation. Good morning, Monsieur Marc.
Good morning, Monsieur Alain. Comment ça va?
Ça va, merci. How's everybody out there? Surviving, I guess?
Everyone says they're fine.
Yeah, okay, good. Good to hear. So, Joe, just to refresh our memory, could you tell us about who you are, what you do? Just a quick reminder.
Yep. My name's Joe Carr. My wife, Serenity, and I started Serenity Kids baby food for our little baby Della. She's 21 months old now. And we, had looked for baby foods that matched the diet that we had used to heal ourselves from all of our health issues, which was the paleo diet. And we're really frustrated with how high in sugar all the baby foods were. They were all super sugary. They didn't have good fat or meat. So we created a baby food product that mimics nature's perfect baby food, which is breast milk, that's made from pasture-raised meats raised on small family farms using regenerative agriculture. Combine that with organic vegetables to make these really good tasting, savory, highly nutritious baby purees that are selling now nationwide in food stores all over the country and on our website and Amazon.
Cool. Thank you for that. And the name of the company again?
Serenity Kids.
Okay. Yeah, good. So what has been your experience so far with COVID-19?
Initially, Serenity and I were actually in having a little vacation. My mom flew down, and we were in a cabin in the woods out in Wimberley, Texas, when the shelter-in-place stuff kind of came down. So we were already like away and following it from there, and people were working in the office that week. And so, initially we had to figure out, do we close the office and when? And, Serenity's basically been about one step ahead of the government recommendations from just following the direction things are going. So we closed our office before the full shelter in place was announced. And then we started quarantining right before they said that everybody should quarantine. So Serenity's been following it a lot, and now she's ahead of it with realizing that it's not as big of a deal as we thought, and that herd immunity is actually probably the best route through something like this. So now we've kind of lessened our heavy quarantining. We've, have a nanny coming over, and we had my dad came and visited, and we've seen a couple friends, and, we still wear masks when we go out because that's what the expectation is. But for us, we're no longer worried about getting it. In fact, we hope to be exposed and to get our immunity boost, immune system adapted to it so that we never get it again. But, we can't control that. But otherwise, it's been really good. Our staff are thriving in a work from home environment. We have all kinds of Zoom meetings, and we are able to run our company entirely from remotely. We had the childcare was the hardest thing in the beginning because we have a baby, plus we started potty training her right before this, and we were trying to run the company. So that was really stressful. But, now that we have the nanny coming back, it's a lot better. And, we've grown closer to each other in our relationship. We have a great time with our daughter, and we have been able to order all the awesome food that we've needed. We've been Thrive Market and Bel Campo Meats and local group called Farmhouse Delivery that delivers local produce and meats and products from local farms. We've probably eaten better than ever with all the food that we've been getting delivered and all the cooking we've been doing. So we've been enjoying it.
Right. That's great. That's great. That's what we want to hear. So, first of all, I wanted to address Della's situation. I understand from some posting from Serenity that at time it was kind of crazy, in home. How did you survive the whole being full-time with Della all the time?
Yeah, we made a schedule. So every day it was blocked out who had Della and who was working. And it was about 6 hours of Della and 6 hours of everything else. So we had 6 hours to work, have self-care time, make food, do chores, all that together. So it was real tight to get all our work done and all our personal and house stuff done in that short period of time. Plus we were potty training Della at that time as well. So it's like she required a lot of attention, just following her around to avoid accidents. So it was a difficult time, but in the end we got really efficient, and like I think harder on Serenity than me. I was able to work and do house stuff while I had Della. She was a little more tolerant of me doing my own thing while with her, but for whatever reason with Serenity, she is very clingy to her, and she will wants her full attention the whole time. And so it was especially hard on her to manage that. But we definitely got into a rhythm and got through it. And now having the childcare, it's just like extra. It's like we don't take it for granted. It's like, okay, now it's like all this extra time that we have now that we have Nate.
Yeah. So going back to the health side of thing, you and I, Mark, obviously agree on strengthening our immune system and even, cautiously reconnecting with people so that, we can train our immune system to take care of this or to fight this thing. I have my own personal health shield besides the food, also add vitamin C, vitamin D, all sorts of good stuff to keep my body, in a defense mode, strengthen the defenses, so to speak. What do you use and how do you deal with the potential of, catching the virus?
Yeah. I mean, I think diet is the fundamental thing. So avoiding sugar and excess carbs is like the key thing in terms of inflammation, and then adding in the most nutrient boosting foods. So we do a lot of homemade bone broth. We do organ meats where possible. Lots of vegetables. I've started doing more and more fresh vegetables. I started a garden now, so we get to eat from our lawn, which is really, I've been wanting to do that for a while. So I used COVID stuck at home time to start my vegetable garden, which more important than ever to have fresh food for immunity as well as for food independence, as the grocery stores all got, ran out. And so, really fresh greens. So a lot of really, just the most nutritious foods to keep that body optimal, plenty of sleep, always keeping good sleep, because that's a key thing for immune system as well. And then exercise. As far as boosting immunity, we, elderberry, we're a big fan of elderberry. We give it to Della and take a little bit of elderberry during these, 6 seasons. And also, like you said, vitamin C, vitamin D, all just the normal vitamins and immune boosters. We get acupuncture and chiropractic regularly, which are both functions of immunity to keep the system working in flow. Both for Della too. Della also gets a little baby acupuncture and chiropractic as well. So, we just put a lot of attention on our bodies. We spend a lot more money and time on food, sleep, exercise, supplements than probably most people. But to us, it's super important. It's the only body we got. And, it keeps us really healthy. Like Della's hardly been sick. She's been sick once her whole life,
Yeah.
It's
very good.
Yeah.
So how do you exercise during confinement?
Yeah, we go on a lot of walks, it was also social because a lot of our neighbors are out walking. So we get to see people, from a distance, and Della loves walks. So we push her in her little push bicycle or in a wagon or in the stroller. I started a community garden plot. In addition to the backyard garden, I found a community garden nearby that I started a plot at. So we walked there, and gardening, especially starting the beds, is a lot of exercise, digging and hoeing and pitchforking and hauling compost and dirt and pushing wheelbarrows. So that's been really fun to use my body in a dynamic way for an end. I also got this stationary bike that has a desk on it. How cool that is. So I can work or do Zoom calls while biking. And that's been really nice to just, move my feet at a steady pace for at least an hour a day I've been doing, which is about 5 miles. So I various Zoom meetings. So at least one meeting a day I do on the bike, do like an hour, 5 miles. And then we have a little home gym as well. So I've got weights and kettlebells and Bowflex and bands. So Serenity's been working with a virtual trainer. She had a trainer she was working with before who just moved all her sessions to virtual. So now twice a week she gets in the garage in our weight set and has an hour-long training session with getting her ass kicked by a trainer via Zoom. And she's been getting really strong. She's stronger than me at this point. She's like, really working it out.
And of course, going out, besides the exercise side of things, going out gardening, you also get sun and vitamin D, natural vitamin.
Totally. Sunlight, air. We have woods and forest all around us in Austin. So we go to the forest at least once a week as well. Like go surround ourselves in trees and just breathe in the aromas of the forest is like really important to both physical and emotional well-being. And we really value being in the woods and having Della in the forest a lot.
So regarding the mental and emotional challenge, you're one of the few lucky people because you keep busy, how do you say, mentally because of your business.
There's never a dull moment. There's been no boredom. It's been very interesting.
So nothing much has changed for you besides being stuck at home. You keep working, has it affected your business at all?
We are selling lots and lots of extra baby food. Like it's been really good for sales. People stocked it up and people have switched to ordering online, which is better for us than the store. So retail sales are down. There was a huge spike in March when it was like all the apocalyptic shopping, we call it. But like then now it's retail's down, but e-com is way up. The e-commerce sales on our website and Amazon are really, really high. So that's been really good. But otherwise, no, with our supply chain is stable. We use all American family farms. So those have been unaffected because they're small operations and they're domestic. So
yeah,
we've had no issues with supply. Our factory is stable. Our logistics facility is stable. So, we've had to be creative with capital raising since the economy crashed. So we were in the middle of a fundraise when the economy crashed. So we've had to really figure out how to piecemeal investments and government loans together to maintain working capital. But we have, and it's been no problem, and we have the future secured. So that was a challenge to be overcome that required some creativity, but we've been really blessed to have really great investors, and also we've taken advantage of the government stimulus programs and have had some support there too.
Have you been able to get some of that? Was it PPP, right? Program?
We got a PPP, and then we are waiting on the larger loan that is just backlogged, but we're told we're in the queue. So we're hoping, we have our fingers crossed for a larger loan through that.
All right. Good for you. It's interesting compared to the rest of the world. And, a lot of, as you may have heard, a lot of small businesses, restaurants are shutting down already. I mean, out of business, not just shutting down temporarily, out of business.
Sad. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember all the names, but I've some of the Austin institution, like I was at Threadgill, shut down for good.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's another one, Shady Grove on Barton Spring, shut down as well. I mean, like out of business. So you're perfectly positioned to survive this whole thing. So good for you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what other suggestion would you have for our listeners?
A month before this started, I got this message that I needed to become more present in my life. And I decided to go off anything that took me out of the present moment. So I decided to stop drinking alcohol. I started to stop, to even cut, sugar and carbs down even more, to stop watching TV and to stop using social media or anything on my phone that caused me to like check out. I did the whole month of February was like cold turkey on all these coping mechanisms. And so by the end of February, I was like really much better at being slow and present and still. And it was just a very dramatic effect on how much more present and happy I felt in my life. And so then by the time this with COVID happened, you know, there was initially a like, oh, I should go back on all that stuff. Like, oh, well, now with COVID, I need to survive this. So I should be able to drink again and watch more TV and use my phone because like bad circumstances have changed. I need this. And like I dabbled with it a little bit to discover like, actually, this is the perfect time to stay off all that stuff. Like actually that training I did before this is the next phase of like, how do I be present in my life with even less stimulation? And discovered that, man, I was craving peace and stillness. I didn't need more stimulation. Yes. You know, I was like, you know, I don't need my phone. You know, it's like my brain is like addicted to stimulation. I'd like, as soon as, you know, I'm done working, the TV goes on, or as soon as like I'm waiting in line somewhere, I'm like on my phone. It's like I was overstimulated all the time. Yeah. So now's a great chance to like really take away the stimulation and double down on avoiding all those, you know, habits that cause me to check out. So that's my biggest encouragement is like, let's approach this as an opportunity to be more comfortable in our lives and ourselves with if we're alone, then with ourselves, or if we have families, like with our partners, you know, like how we can go be more connected to our partners, more connected to our children. I've loved, I mean, all that time without childcare was great with Della. Like we had a lot of time to hang out and to bond. And, you know, Serenity and I had to figure out how to do date night in the house, you know, and like how to navigate all this stuff and like go deeper in our intimacy. And like when stuff opens back up, like it'll just be, you know, all the better.
Yeah. One thing actually it just popped up as you were talking is I think for everyone's mental health, they keep on hammering all the negativity and all the bad news and everything. And some people are hooked on that TV and on the news. I mean, if you go on CNN 24 hours a day, you could just spend your whole life on it. And that's extremely detrimental to your mental health. So from my point of view, I say, you know, cut down a lot on all of the bad news and try to be, like you said, in the moment and appreciate what you have now, which a lot of people are rediscovering family and personal connections and so on.
Yeah. Part of my cleanse actually was to stop listening to the radio while driving. I switched to exclusively podcasts or books on tape, and have been really enjoying that. I don't drive much these days, but back then when I drove a lot, that was like no more NPR, you know, like get in the car, turn on the book I'm on or turn on the next podcast, like choose what I listen to. Don't like let the media decide what I listen to just based off what is airing at that moment, but be intentional about what I take in. And then Serenity about once a week goes on her trusted sites to get updates on the situation. So she knows what's happening, you know, where the rates are and what the estimations of change are. And, you know, just so we have some sense of what's going on in the world. But ultimately, if there's a major event, we're going to find out about it. You don't need to listen to the media. And I listened to this podcast that talked about how if it's on the news, it's by nature rare. Like we think if it's on the news, it's common. Like, oh, it's on the news. This must be everywhere. But actually, it's not news if it's common. It's only news if it's really rare. And so the news, they seek out these weird stories. But then because it's takes so much airtime, our psychology thinks, oh, this is really common. This is like, this is happening everywhere. And so it's like best to just, like you said, just cut that stuff out. Like there's really no need to do it. You can get anything you want online via YouTube or blogs or news articles. So if you want to get educated, choose your source and choose what you read, you know, as opposed to broadcast where they decide for you. Yeah,
I must admit I don't watch the news on TV, but I do a lot of reading on different websites as far as what's going on around. I had to stop driving for Uber and Lyft because it wasn't safe for me. So I'm basically stuck at home. And I would say, doing nothing, but I switched to be a day trader for the time being.
All right.
You know, I mean, you gotta keep your mind busy. So I read a lot of financial information. I educate myself in the process as well. Um, you know, I'm not entirely off the news per se, but I never watch, when I turn the TV on, I just watch movies or
Right.
shows, you know, trying to find something that's maybe a comedy or something funny just to, you know, boost my mental. And then I make a point to go out to the swimming pool an hour a day at least to read a book and get some sun and maybe mingle with a few people out there. We were lucky through the whole time our complex did not shut down the swimming pool, so
Oh, that's
we,
nice.
we, we could go out, yeah. And then typically radio, I just listen to classical music.
Hmm.
Just keeps me, you know,
Yeah.
calm. Okay, so let's say any interesting. You already alluded to some of them, but any interesting personal stories you can share a little something cute, funny, or
Yeah, you know, our we have a toddler who lives next door to us, named Anya, and Della loves Anya. Like Anya probably loves Della a little more than Della loves Anya. It's a little one-sided relationship, but they talk about each other a lot, and so they've been able to like kind of social distance play, which is fun.
yeah.
Like they are like in the front yards, and we're on our porches, and you know they've been able to like interact and like if anything Della probably likes a little better because Anya used to just like latch on to Della, so now like they're she's like, let's play at a distance, this is a little more fun for me, you know, I can take my toys and stuff, and so they've been social distance playing, which has been great. My other neighbor hosted a social distance shrimp boil in her driveway, and
Nice.
we all hung out in the street and, you know, 6 feet apart,
Right.
you know, bringing our own drinks and side dishes and then going and getting shrimp, you know, and, you know, that was really fun. And we've had some other driveway parties. So it's been just cool to see the neighborhood, you know, more connecting with each other, more
Yes.
focused on our neighbors. Cause, you know, we tend to just like have our friends or family, we go there and we come back, versus like, these are the people right around us all the time. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Speaking of that, I think strangely enough, there might have been a silver lining to this, which is it forced people to slow down and reconnect with other people instead of being busy like typical American way of living, right?
and I think the transformation to office culture is going to be huge. You know, we had an office and we're kind of on top of each other in there. Like we've grown fast and the space is small. And I love being on top of each other. Like that's my thing. I want like, you know, cuddle puddle all day long. But the office culture, you know, is difficult. And so one thing we've realized is, okay, so being entirely Zoom, there's a lot of missing from the connection. We do socials every week where at half an hour we play a game all together, or we celebrate somebody's birthday, or we found like ways to do Zoom social time with each other because it was part of our company culture. But when we go back, I think we're going to not have everybody in the office every day. Like we think we'll actually have better connections if it's more intermittent. Like we'll get more work done on the days we're at home, and then we'll get all our socializing and connection in on the couple of days a week we're at the office. But like separating those two, I think is going to be really good for our business to allow people to have head down home for work from home time and avoid any kind of traffic or commute. But then when we're in the office together, like really enjoy each other and improve office culture and morale. So I've learned a lot about that too.
Cool. I read something funny yesterday. One of those memes. They say make sure to stay 6 feet away from each other because the virus doesn't travel more than 6 feet. You know, 6 feet and 1 inch, and the virus cannot catch you, right?
Yeah, that's what they say.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, how do you foresee the coming back to life kind of thing? You mentioned you wear a mask in or when you go outside, or you go into public environment like grocery stores?
Oh yeah, just public environment, not like in the neighborhood or anything
Yeah.
like that. Like really just when we're interacting with other people who, for their sake, like they would want us to wear masks basically. Like, you know, I don't actually care anymore. And, you know, we're ready to do whatever is allowed. So if restaurants or movie theaters open, like we'd be ready to go. Like we're ready to like interact with daily life as much as as you know, the society shifts to being comfortable with. And we have no idea how long it'll last, but I'm sure hoping it's not much longer.
Okay. Mark?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as you've been saying, you and Serenity are somewhat ahead of the curve. With your ahead of the curve head on, how do you see you and Serenity and your co-workers and friends handling the aftermath, sort of the exit from the lockdown?
You know, I think like I really hope that we value in-person connection more, that we like really don't take it for granted again, that we recognize that how important it is and get more out of it. Like, you know, I do think just enjoying going to movies, enjoying going to restaurants, like not taking it for granted. Eventually we'll probably all shift back into taking it for granted again, you know, but like in the beginning, like I hope we really enjoy that. And those of us who have steady jobs and those of us who are in good health to like be grateful for that and recognize that, you know, it's not true for everyone. There's a lot of people who either were sick or were very, very afraid of getting sick. You know, we didn't have to do either. We weren't super afraid of it because we don't have our immune compromised, and, you know, we've been super well, and, you know, nobody in our lives has gotten sick or is that terrified of it either. So, you know, so a lot of just gratitude and, you know, realizing that all this happened for our growth and development in some way, and who knows what the next phase has to offer us. But there's something there, and you know, what happens with the economy and what happens with our health and what is the next pandemic that happens, you know, like that's way worse than this one could happen, you know, or environmental disaster or nuclear fallout. I mean, there's all kinds of way worse scenarios that could cause us to have to be sheltered again, and not nearly in as good a circumstances as this one. So like, let's get real good at it and be ready for any of those kinds of things, and you know, get out of victim. Like we have to just not believe that we're a victim to the virus or to the government or to the media or to any of these institutions that, yes, causes some issues, but like there's ways to be our best selves in that and to learn and grow from it.
Super. Now I realized that, you know, you come from a position of someone who looks after their health, to the point where you're not scared about viruses and things like that. What would you say to people whose health isn't as good, particularly if they've got kids, you know, sort of particularly, you know, around your child's age?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, children are fortunately largely immune from corona, so that's been a relief to a lot of parents that they can be carriers, but they, you know, largely aren't getting sick. You know, like less than 1% or something. So that's comforting to know that basically kids are not at a greater risk. People who are immune compromised or older, you know, like it is like scary for sure. You know, like there's a lot of fear mongering going out there. In the end, the stats are encouraging in terms of death rates compared to other things like the regular flu or, you know, other scenarios, you know, driving in a car, so forth. So I think keeping in context the overall risk is important, but you know, I don't have that experience, so I can't really advise or speak to someone who has immune compromise, because, you know, it's definitely scary and there's some lesson in there for you. Like I believe that all happens for everyone, and like, you know, it's not my experience. So, you know, I kind of respect them having whatever process they need.
Now, I mean, there's a lot of talk, isn't there, about a sort of second or even a third wave. How are you and Serenity preparing for that?
Same as we've been, we've got like everything in place with our business. We've got, the situation with childcare that should be able to continue. And like for this specific virus, we basically decided that we're not concerned about it for us. So we'll just continue with, following the guidelines as the society asks us to, but like not worrying about it. I think a new pandemic or some other disaster is more of a concern, because that's even more unknown and could happen anytime.
But from a point of view of, looking after your health, what are you doing that many people might not be?
Yeah, I guess all the things I said before in terms of diet and sleep and supplements and working with healing practitioners. We are optimizers. So we're looking for the optimal body conditions all the time, which is why the paleo movement has been so valuable, because it looks back to our ancestors who survived for hundreds of thousands of years without all these, amenities, just via like the human body is very resilient. We're very designed to survive this climate at this point, even though it's difficult. And so how did we do that? What did we eat? What was our sleeping practices? What was our movement practices? And looking to integrate the lessons of our ancestors into paleo diet, paleo lifestyle, and how do we optimize using the technology that we do have for the best, whether it's like, supplements that isolate important vitamin compounds from foods, or biofeedback things. Serenity just got an Aura ring that reads her sleep and movement patterns and heart rate, and like gives her a lot of great information on what works and doesn't work for her body. I wear one of those little, so I don't have it on right now, this little upright thing for my posture. I wear it on the back of my in between my shoulder blades, and it gives me a little buzz if I start slouching or hurt my posture at all. So there's lots of great ways to look at how to use technology to optimize our bodies. But in the end, it's all very old stuff.
Super. So three takeaways that you think, or you and Serenity might even be putting into practice to keep yourself fit and healthy and hopefully avoid any illness.
Three takeaways: the basics, diet and sleep. Most important thing of anything. Mental health is all about attitude, in terms of recognizing that we're not victims, and that this is an opportunity to grow and become better people. Really avoiding checking out. Like, get out of this. I need to survive this by drinking more alcohol or coffee or TV, and get into like, how do I embrace this? How do I enjoy this by limiting those things even more than usual, and putting attention on myself or our families.
Super job. Thank you very much. Now, obviously, nutrition for children plays an important part in their good health. Where can people find out about these new great foods that you and Serenity have come up with?
Yeah, Serenity Kids Baby Food. We have a website, myserenitykids.com. Our products are also on Amazon. If you just search Serenity Kids, or even if you just search baby food, at this point we pop up pretty soon. We're also available on Thrive Market, so those are all for deliveries. We're in Whole Foods nationwide, and a lot of regional grocery stores as well. So look for us on the baby food aisle, or ask the store to carry us if we don't yet. Feel free to reach out. We're on Instagram, Facebook, #MySerenityKids, @MySerenityKids. And we have a lot of resources for parents on there, in addition to food, all stuff about working from home with kids, or I did a little mask making tutorial on how to make a mask out of materials you already have in your house. And, lots of parent hacks, ways we've optimized parenting, little tips and tricks that we've learned were really helpful. We put out those on a regular basis. So, check our social media for all that.
Super job. Alan, back to you.
Okay, ready for the famous closing? Thank you again, Joe, for being on the Low Carb Paleo Show. And as we say in Texas, à votre santé, y'all.
Thanks again, Joe.
Thank you. Great to be back. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.